I woke up while nature was sound asleep, so I could marvel at its kingdom. I strolled through its lush gardens and saw every little wonder up close. Here, you can dance with giants, discover a feast for the eyes, and a feast for the appetite. Walls that hold heroes' stories told me of their bravery, while sacred places blessed my journey. I roamed places that stood the test of time, and others that were there since the beginning.
Every day, I wake up to a feast. Where I can sink my teeth into history. Or shock my taste buds with something new. It's here I learned the color of sweetness, expanded my pantry, and my appetite. Every next bite only leaves you hungry for more.
Just woke up from the time of my life. It started with a major throwback. Then I got to meet the big shots. I found a sweet spot between cultures and hung out with the artsy crowd. I even picked up a few things along the way. After that, things kicked into overdrive. It started with a whirlwind through the streets, and unforgettable eats, a celebration of flavor in every bite, and an epic new party at every turn. The best thing about it here, the good times are never over.
adlaw sa inyong tanan. Mabuhay, I'm Aya Fernandez, and you are now boarding GPS TV. I'm Aya Fernandez, your online travel buddy, and join me again today as we navigate our way through your favorite destinations, making sure, of course, to hashtag go safe, go travel. And the previous episodes, pinag-usapan natin paano nagiging tulay ang digital tours and exhibits between art and the audiences. And today we're going to talk another form of art. Kung last time, painting, sculptures, this time we'll dwell into performative art or dance as we all know it. At sayaw ay isang sining na hindi talaga kailangan ng salita para magkaintindihan tayo. Pero huwag kayong mag-alala guys, wala na tayong international guest this time. And even if you speak a different language, we can come together and communicate through graceful movements. And I'm for sure all of you here will agree that dance in societies reflects deep aspects of one's culture. And it also functions as a mode of storytelling, rituals, celebration, di ba? Dito lang sa Pilipinas, we have different types of dances. Mapa-folk dance man yan, mapa-ballet, contemporary, or street dance. They have already become part of our culture, di ba? Not to mention yung mga party-party nyo rin, yan. Sama na rin natin yan. Yes, sayaw din yun, di ba? So what a better way to celebrate dance as an art form than by promoting it together with the tourism of a place. Kahit parehong kaliwa ang paa nyo, I'm sure guys, mapapasayaw rin kayo sa inyong mga upuan dahil ang ating mga guest ngayon ay talagang malulupit na dancers. It's just understatement pa nga yun eh. So ngayon pa lang, I'm honestly fangirling, pero sige, kakalma tayo, Tita Aya. So, di ko na patatagalin pa. Let's call on our groovy dance buddies for our first guest. She is the current director of sales and marketing of Crimson Resort and Spa Boracay. She is a former member of Ballet Philippines and a graduate of Diploma in Dance in UP Diliman. She has trained under the tutelage of Agnes Locsin, Cecil Sisanko, Lisa Makuha, and Steve Villaluz. She is no other than Miss Cecil Kimpo.
Hi, Aya. Thank you for that introduction. Hi, my name is Cecil Kimpo from Crimson Resort and Spa Boracay. Yes, I used to be connected with UP Dance Company and Ballet Philippines too with Agnes Locsin.
Wow, thank you for being here, Miss
Yes.
T.
Very excited.
Oo, ako rin. Our second guest. He is an artistic director from UP Filipiniana Dance Group. He's an artistic director of La Salle Dance Company, Contemporary and Folk. He is a musical director of Luz Miminda Productions, Toronto, Canada. He is a recipient of Gawad Obispo Paz Felix, DSLU Most Outstanding Culture and Arts Advisor in 2007 and 2007 and 2008. He is also a recipient, guys. He's a recipient of the Certificate of Recognition for Service, University of the Philippines Varsity Sports Office in 2015 to 2019. He is a recipient also of the Province of Aklan Resolution for his outstanding contributions in the field of musical and cultural productions. He is also a professional documentary film scorer and a freelance lighting designer, graphics designer, and video editor. Whew! Mr. Peter Alcedo.
Thank you, Aya. Hello, good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for the invitation and for that introduction. I'm sorry if it was long. I'm Peter. I teach in UP and La Salle, and I danced before for Douglas Niera's Power Dance, and of course UP Filipiniana. Also with Professor Corazon Inigo. Yeah.
Wow.
So hello.
And Sir Peter, I believe sobrang mahalaga na mention natin yung background nyo. Kasi malay nyo sa audiences, merong nakaka-relate, nakaka-connect, and nakilala nyo rin before. So anyway, mamaya pag-uusapan pa natin yan. Nice having you here, Sir Peter.
Thank you.
Next guest, a dance thinker and artist based in the Philippines. They are an alumnus of the UP Street Dance Club and a former company member of Daloy Dance Company. Since 2017, he has pursued independent practice in contemporary dance and performance. They have performed solo and collaborative works in the Philippines, Hong Kong, Hungary, and Japan. They received in the jury prize in Hong Kong International Choreography Festival in 2019 and is one of the recipients of the AET Choreografia Award in 2020. He also holds an international master's in dance anthropology and ethnochoreology and is a part-time lecturer in the anthropology department of UP Diliman and Performing Arts Department of Guangming College. Isa nito sa mga tinitingala ko, Mr. Jared Luna. Hello, Sir
Hello.
Jared.
Magandang hapon.
Magandang hapon.
Salamat sa invitation.
Thank you rin po for being here. Our next guest, he is also a dance coach. Not to mention, isang malupit din na dance coach. A hip-hop international world champion, America's Got Talent Season 13 director of the crew. He is also from Protein Shake and Roman Con, and Hip-Hop International Elite Judge, and the director of Hip-Hop International Philippines, Mr. Sernan Alfonso.
Hi guys, good afternoon. Thank you po for having me.
Hello, good afternoon, Sir Sernan. And last but not the least, we have the country director of World of Dance Manila. He is an ABS-CBN choreographer, co-owner of Groove Central Dance Studio. He is the founder and director of Legit Status, head coach of LaSalle Green Hills Air Force, Assumption College Dance Group, and PADC. He is the head coach of PLDT Street and Globe 917 Crew, and Ani ng Dangal awardee in 2019. Mr. Vimy Rivera.
Thank you, Aya. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Hey, okay. So welcome, abuhay sa ating mga guests and welcome to GPS TV's Journeys. Ngayon, para sa ating mga manonood sa Facebook and YouTube. So, mamaya talaga guys, maghanda kayo. Mag-warm up na kayo guys kasi papasayawin natin kayo ngayong araw na to. Tune in to GPS TV on Facebook and YouTube to learn more about tips for worry-free travels and unique journeys to boot. Dito talaga sa GPS TV, hindi lang natin pinag-uusapan yung turismo na mainstream, kung paano masasagip yung mga more than 40 million Filipinos na naapektuhan ng trabaho nila. Ano rin tayo dito? Para rin tong career assessment program, di ba? Kasi marami rin tayong na-inspire na mga manonood dahil sa mga professions ng ating guests. And also, paano nga ba to, yung mga profession na to na nakokonekto sa turismo? So before we begin, gusto ko muna simulan kung gusto ko kayong tanungin kung what comes to mind when you say Philippine dance. Let's start with Sir Jared.
Hello. So, para sa akin, pag sinabing Philippine dance, actually, yung naiisip ko talaga ay Philippine dances, mas plural. Kasi gusto ko i-acknowledge na may diversity and variety sa kinds ng dances sa Philippines, like folk dances, traditional dances, concert or stage dances like ballet, modern, and street dances or hip-hop dance and the other forms, as well as ballroom or ballroom and other things pa. Apart from that, gusto ko rin i-acknowledge na iba-iba rin kasi yung activities or yung klase ng engagement ng Filipinos when it comes to dance. So, for me, instead of looking at this general idea Philippine dance, I prefer to use Philippine dances. Kasi yun, malawak, makulay, iba-iba naman yung pagsasayaw ng mga Pilipino.
Ang gandang concept no na hindi siya dapat i-generalize yung Philippine dance kasi napakarami nga naman. So mamaya tatanungin ko pa po kayo, Sir Jared, kung ano pa yung mga Philippine dances na yan. How about you, Miss CK? What comes to mind when we say Philippine dances?
For me kasi, when I was younger, for me, parang Philippine dance, it's all about nga, traditional dances, tama si Jared, and
Oo.
ethnic dances. But because of education, no, and because of your vast experiences also, parang I discovered that it is more than just these dances. Parang the history and the traditions behind the dances are very much what defines us Filipino. So these dances not only show a way of life ng mga ethnic groups, 'di ba? But it is very much part of their life. So for me, that's the concept that comes to mind when we talk about and when you say about Philippine dance.
Yep.
Tradition, yeah.
Yep. During the previous episode, we talked about art showing the story of the artist. And ganon din, I don't know if you agree to me, na ganon din sa sayaw. How about you, Sir Nan? What comes to mind when you say Philippine dances?
Yeah, so siguro magpipiggyback ako dun sa sinasabi ni Jared, ano? Kasi nga, like for me, yung Philippine dances, kasi yung parang meron tayong, yeah, we have our own versions of hip-hop, of ballet, of jazz. Meron tayong ibang way. Meron tayong own way. Pero like for me, Philippine dances is what is yung kung ano yung nagbibigay ng glimpse of Philippine history talaga dun sa mga tao na nanonood nito. So, siguro, I would say na mas sa akin mga mas tinikling yan, mga pandango sa ilaw yan, kung ano yung nagpapakita ng kung ano yung buhay sa atin. So pag nakita mo yan, you would know na parang, oy, that's what they're doing there in the Philippines, or
Yeah.
whatever it is that we were doing back then, or that's part of their history, ganyan. So in my head, it's what gives other people, the viewers, a glimpse of what we do here. Parang ganyan.
And ang ganda nung, just to connect the things that you said, kasi in our previous episode, meron one of our audiences na nag-comment na porket bahiram ang isang form of art, hindi mo na pwedeng sabihin this is like let's say Philippine art, hindi mo na ba yan matatawag na Philippine dance? So with what you said, this is how we do it, therefore it's ours. Ganda lang. Thank you. Yeah, I saw you nodding, Sir Vinny. What comes to mind when you say Philippine dances?
My initial exposure kasi, I grew up in Iloilo and then Bacolod until mga 7 or 8 years old. So my initial exposure was mascara. So
wow.
When I say Philippine dance, yun agad yung unang pumapasok sa akin. And then of course, eventually, as I got older, mas nakita ko yung rich culture of Philippine dances. Of course, we are over 7,000 islands. So lahat may kanya-kanyang take on that. So that was my earlier version of what Philippine dance is, as in general. And then later on, of course, through my career also in the street dance world, parang it connected how we are now. So parang everything's overlapping. So kumbaga, nag-evolve siya na nag-evolve.
Yeah. But what do you think is do you have a point in your life na merong pivot on how you define Philippine dances?
It's hard to pinpoint one definition kasi yung nauna kay Jared and Sir Nan, tama yung mga sinasabi nila na talagang Philippine dances, it's a collection of such a rich culture of us here. So I can't really pinpoint anything, parang a defining moment on how I could describe our identity. Mm-hmm. Pero marami kasi siya. So kumbaga, you understand what it is when you see it as a collection.
Nice. Ang gandang pang-plug niyan mamaya. Kasi mamaya tatanungin ko yung mga respective Facebook pages, social media accounts nyo para ma-check ng ating audiences yung sinasabi nating performance. But guys, wait lang, pakulo pa lamang to. Sir Pito, how about you? What comes to mind when we say Philippine dances?
Nasagot naman na nila lahat, no? So but I have this one explanation that I got from Tito Douglas Nieras, no? And I think it's a good explanation also. Anything that is created by the Filipino and performed by a Filipino body is Philippine dance. So that encompasses everything. I teach traditional dance, and it's our responsibility to keep that and cultivate that. Yung street iba din, yung sa jazz kami din iba din, no? So sa ballet iba din. And sometimes nagko-cross din. May contemporary tayo, may lyrical jazz tayo, may contemporary hip hop. So madaming basta ginawa ng Pilipino para sa akin Philippine dance na yan. Pero syempre, kung ano yung hinihingi, like for example sa abroad, if we go on a folkloric festival, then Philippine dance are our folk dances, no? Our traditional dances. Yun lang po.
Beautiful. Sir, Jared, if you are asked, you have a huge background on anthropology, and if you are asked, how do you show your patriotism through dance?
Yung patriotism, it's very much linked to our sense of a nation, of who we are as a people. So, when we talk about patriotism, we do sometimes we go back to our own history. Parang we go back to important points in our history and kung ano yung pinagdaanan ng mga Filipinos nung panahon na yon, and we honor kung ano man yung mga nagawa nila. So, as I've observed in some performances I have seen in the past, parang pieces that show patriotism, they would show images or motifs or figures or depict scenes or events of what happened in the past. So I think that's one way. But I think also just a general understanding and critiquing, presenting what is also happening currently now may be a form of patriotism. So parang yes.
Go.
So parang it's an acknowledgement na yung current state natin ay produkto siya ng history at ng isang mahaba at komplikadong history. At interesting siya tignan yung dance performance kung paano niya pinapresent yung Filipino-ness by taking glimpse or pictures or bits of that history.
Yeah,
So,
ang ganda.
yeah.
Ang ganda. Sige, mamaya ako na talaga itatanong yung mga kung saan nila pwedeng mapanood. Kasi guys, ako napanood ko na tong mga taong to na naririto. Kaya kinikilig ako sa mga sagot nila and talagang naiintindihan ko. And for sure, para mas maintindihan yung discussion, mamaya talaga, meron kayong homework na panoorin nyo yung mga performances nila. Deal? Deal. Okay. Sige. For now, dito muna tayo. Miss CK, thank you, Jared. Miss CK, for you, what does dance symbolize in the Philippine context? So, na-mention natin yung story ng tao natin. Pero in what specific? Kung based from your experience in dance and now that you are working in the tourism industry, what does dance symbolize for you in the Philippine context?
Well, for me talaga, I'm not a creator anymore na parang mga kasama natin na magagaling. I'm not even a performer. So I'm just basing on, my experience when I was still dancing. For me, Philippine dance symbolizes pride of people and its place. Kasi these are treasures that nations should be regarded highly with respect. Diba? Yung mga dances natin, whether ethnic siya, diba? Mga dances natin from Mindanao, mga folk dances natin, kailangan i-respect talaga natin yun. And personally, I gained so much through dance in the Philippines, here in the Philippines. Dance became a vehicle to my education. When I graduated from high school, sabi ko sa mommy ko, I just want to dance. Which is kind of weird kasi my dad is my dad is a lawyer, mga doctor sila. Ako, dance lang talaga gusto ko. My love for it brought me to study nga in UP. Under Steve Villaruz for diploma in dance. And then it's discipline also. For a while, I taught ballet like sa Ballet Philippines and yung mga small dance schools before when I was younger. My notion of Philippine dance also broadened and it defined our traditional dances created by Filipinos, its content, yung narrative niya, and inspiration in its creation to make it really more a Filipino dance.
Ang ganda. Yeah. Now let's move on to coming from a perspective from street dance. Sir Vimy, could you mention to us how you started to develop your passion for dance? Since kanina you had the glimpse na, a hint na you came from Bacolod, but can you briefly drive us how you develop your passion for dance?
I started, honestly, although I had that initial exposure, of course, as I mentioned, pero I was really interested in more of what I see on TV. So, Sir Gary V, Michael Jackson, earlier on, nung wala pa yung YouTube, of course, MTV. So, doon ko parang na-realize na, okay, this is something that I really enjoy doing. Not knowing that I would want it as a career eventually. But from there, it was mostly just dancing inside the room or pag may mga reunion. And then not until college when I joined UP Street Dance Club. That's my first formal training under Sir Jerome de Malanta. And then from there, mas na-build up na siya as a dancer, dance artist, to a choreographer, and eventually a street dance coach.
Wow, ang ganda. Okay, the reason why I ask these questions is because when we talk about art, it really leads to being personal. No matter how bird's eye view a particular question is, it will always boil down to the heart. So, wala lang, as we can hear from our guests right now. Thank you, Sir Vimy, for that. How about you, Sir Sernan? How did you start to develop your passion for dance?
More or less pareho kami ni Vimy ng experiences. So, kasi I didn't really start dancing until I was in college. So, yung una, during high school, ganyan, the younger days, nanonood kang TV. Yung mga una kong nakita, of course, yung mga Street Boys, sila Kuya Jong. Yun yung una nag-spark when I saw the Street Boys performing on TV. Kasi, yung the way that they did acrobatics while they were dancing, yun yung parang nag-pull sa akin towards trying to do what they were doing. So parang, you're a young boy, you wanted to look cool. So I'm like, maybe I can do that. Alam mo yun? So nagpa-practice ako. Tapos yun nga, when I came to college, I joined the UPC Dance Club, like most of you here. And then I got to get formal training. Tapos nakita ko na may mga technical stuff pala na kailangan mong matutunan on top of just trying to groove, na-groove pala yung tawag dyan. All of these things na ang dami pala na pwedeng na mga stuff na pwede mong matutunan aside from just trying to look cool. So yun.
From trying to look cool, it evolved to where?
It evolved, yun nga parang trying to look cool, and then it evolved. We have time, I'm gonna tell a story. So yun, nung una, and then I got into competing for UP with Vimy, with Jared, with the UPC Dance Club. So at that time, we were representing the university. So university pride, that's what we were trying to do. So when we won a lot of competitions in the Philippines, ganyan. Everyone knew where UP was, what the UPC Dance Club is, And then we had the opportunity to compete abroad. Nung nag-compete kami abroad, that's where it opened up. Nakita namin 50 other countries were there shouting their countries, ganyan. Yung pride just to get up on that stage and hold the flag, it would make you cry already kasi ang daming tao, shouting where they're from. And then yung competition na yan in 2012 was World Hip Hop Dance Championships. And then we became world champions. We won the competition. After that happened, it opened a lot of doors for me. Yun nga, I was saying kanina, I became an elite judge for the World Hip Hop Dance Championships na took me to a lot of other countries where I saw other cultures and, try to represent the Philippines and teach people where I am from and what we do here. And then now I am a director for Hip Hop International Philippines. Ngayon, what I'm trying to do is to teach and train dance warriors in uplifting excellence to our platforms. What I want to do is to actually try to give the younger generation an opportunity na nagkaroon kami through dance na siguro hopefully in the future i-represent din nila yung bansa natin the way that we represented it. So what we're trying to do in the Hip-Hop International Philippines is to educate them the right way. Parang ganyan.
And also it makes people come together. It unites people. They make
Yes.
us cheer all together. And for the benefit of our viewers, ang World of Dance and Hip Hop International or HHI na mention ni Sir Nan, para siyang NBA ng dance, ganon. If you would agree
Let's
to
say
me, would you?
Olympic. Parang
Yeah,
Olympics
parang
ng dance.
ganon para sa mga ating viewers. Thank you, Sir Nan. How about you, Sir Peter? They have mentioned something about being taking pride of being a Filipino through dance. How about you? How do you show your patriotism through dance?
Um, I think the best way for us, no, kasi I'm a folk dance teacher and folk dancer,
Yes.
no. So, with that already comes pride, the Filipino traditions, no. But beyond that, I think it really need the representation of our identity of who we are, no. We do research and we present these collaborative research together with our communities and make sure that everything is presented truthfully and beautifully with pride, no. And
Yes.
parang it's small things are part of a whole, which is the Filipino nation, eh. So parang yung communities na to, if we represent them properly or if they themselves come together and represent, then
Yes.
um the love for country is there, eh. Kasi we see the colors, we see the variety, we see the the differences and the similarities and how they move together and they live together as one nation, no. So um yun siguro, and maybe dances that uplift, no, the spirits of the Filipinos. Hindi ko alam kung paano to ginagawa ng bawat isa. May kanya-kanya kaming paraan. Pero I'm sure
Style.
everybody knows how to do this, no.
Yes.
How to bring that Filipino spirit up and and fire inside everybody, no. I'm sure sa HHI or sa World of Dance, ganyan lagi ang dala ng Pilipinas. Laging may puso, laging may kahit hindi siya yung literal na meron kang tinikling na dala or meron kang flag na hinilalabas, hindi kailangan, eh. Kahit yung puso lang, kasi Pilipino yun, eh. So yung mga bagay na yun, kitang-kita naman natin everywhere, no. So that's what that is how I think we symbolize and exude patriotism when we do or perform dances.
So,
Yeah.
Sir Peter, how do you? Yes, anything to add, Miss CK?
Yeah, just to add lang no to what Peter said a while ago. If you create something tapos there is a meaningful message, right? Whether dance yon or song yon, for example, about the environment, 'di ba? About the challenges in our society now, poverty, yung pandemic natin, and then people watch. If they watch, they talk about it, 'di ba? And they become aware. So there, I think patriotism is seen through that process.
It becomes a platform of discourse, of awareness.
Yes, because they talk about it talaga.
Mhm. Sir, thank you, Miss Siki. Ang ganda nun. Naalala ko nga na nakapanood ako ng piece. I cannot remember where. Merong street dance piece, but they also street dance piece, and they also talked about tokhang, mga ganon. Those kinds of stuff. Sir, Jared, how do you think other cultures have influenced the dance styles in the Philippines?
Well, I would say, yun nga, complex kasi yung history natin. So, I think we're all pretty much aware now we had a few centuries of Spanish colonization and then American colonization of almost half a century, and then the post-colonial mess and globalization. So, yung dances sa Philippines, ganun siya ka-complex din. Kumbaga, we have dances here na influenced by the Spanish colonization, may iba na dala-dala nung panahon ng American colonization. Yet, we also have dances here na mas people say indigenous or mas native or mas local na hindi as influenced from by other cultures. So it's interesting kasi as mentioned previously, what is nice about Philippine dances is how we've made dances our own. in many ways, in different ways, from form to name to the way that we perform it, or the kind of meanings we put to the dancing. So like what Sir Peter said, yung sense of pride or patriotism and motivation and inspiration that we bring forth when we dance. So yeah, iba-ibang dinaanan yan. May iba ang daan ay sa paraan ng education, may mga teachers na dumadating, may iba na ang pagdaan ay through popular media or MTV. For example, nung wala pang internet, ang laking bagay ng MTV, lalo
Oo,
na for
oo
those who
nga.
were into street dancing or popular
Naabutan ko pa
dances.
yun. Oo, na wala pang YouTube.
Tapos, exactly, precisely. Tapos ngayon, we have social media, tapos people get influences from YouTube or even Instagram or TikTok, ganyan. So,
Yeah.
mas mabilis pa yung ano ngayon, ng sayaw, kumbaga. At kung paano natin siya natitake in, paano natin siya sinasarili, so to speak, at pinaperform din.
Thank you, Jared. Kung siguro sa ating viewers, nagtataka kayo, bakit kaya kailangan natin alamin kung paano tayo na-influensyahan ng ibang bansa? Siguro kasi when we talk about sustainability, mapaturismo man yan, mapapagkain, mapasayaw, para mas ma-appreciate mo at mapahalagahan mo ang isang bagay, kailangan alam mo kung saan ito nanggagaling, ano yung pinanggagalingan niya. At kahit sa sarili mong bayan, ganun din. Ganun din sa relationship, di ba? Hindi mo naman sasagutin yan kung hindi mo alam, kung wala kayong pinanghugutan. Nga pala, turismo nga pala yung topic natin ngayon. Sige, balik na tayo. Di ba? Kidding aside, ganun siya. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that we stick here in GPSTV. We stick to the principle of sustainability and the principles that revolves around it. How about you, Miss CK? How, in your experience in dance, how did you see it evolve? Like, how did it evolve based from your experience?
Well, kasi may background talaga is ballet.
Ballet.
Diba? Ballet, oo. So, I started dancing when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
Diba? So, feeling ko before ballet lang talaga yung dance.
Okay.
Tapos, when I participated sa mga workshops, so I learned yung mga different dances, diba? The traditional dances. And then, when I was with Ballet Philippines, I was also trained to dance yung neo-ethnic. Diba? So you combine modern tapos ethnic dances.
Mhm.
That's really the brainchild of Agnes Locsin. Yeah, so neo-ethnic. So
Yeah.
so also it's very interesting because it's modern ballet, para yung Graham style, diba? And yet, they incorporate yung mga ethnic dances.
Ganda.
So, diba? Ang ganda ng mga evolution talaga ng dances. Tapos
Sana
naisip ko
mapakita to dito sa GBS TV. Ay, yes, naisip nyo.
Tapos, yeah, di ba, Jared mentioned about social media. Di ba, nung December, nag-trending yung, what do you call this, yung song ni Sarah Geronimo? Yung Tala. And I don't know who choreographed that, di ba? Tapos everyone was into Tala. Like yung mga Christmas party. When I see, I don't know if it's me lang when I watch the choreography, sabi ko parang may ethnic influence to si Tala I don't know who choreographed, baka alam ni na Sir Nan or ni Jared or ni Peter, but may ethnic siya na style. So ethnic plus hip-hop, nag-evolve na talaga yung dance natin. So it's very interesting. And we don't know, di ba? 10 years from now, ano na naman yung dance? Ang i-create ng, the creators like you guys.
No better example than Tala nga. I mean, parang kung usapan ng makaka-relate yung lahat ng audiences natin, for sure, naku naman, alam nyo kung ano yung Tala, di ba? Thank you, Ms. CK. Sir Vimy, how can we keep the authenticity or a dance style versus reenactment dance traditions? Kasi Ms. CK mentioned something about the ethnic and then it evolved combining ballet to it. So for you, from a street dance perspective, how can we keep that authenticity or the dance style versus yung parang ginagaya lang or yung reenactment dance traditions?
I'll start with our own Philippine dances siguro, no? And I think it's the responsibility of the artist, could be commercially or at least for a performance, for them to really do research. Because of course, if especially for us, if we're based in Metro Manila, we're not totally involved with, for example, siguro dances na are represented by different provinces or cities. It's our responsibility to really research and ask from people who are actually into it to really understand the artistry and the style or kung ano man yung message na nilalabas nun. Because of course, we are going to be the tool that will probably be more generally seen or viewed or mas may outreach, and definitely if it's through the artist, dun lang yung para magiging way for the audience for them to see or be exposed to that Philippine dance. Yun dapat we have to make sure na hindi siya watered down. Right? So, kung sino man, whoever is responsible, you have to be really responsible to make sure na kung ano man yung ilalabas mo, it's well-researched, you really trained for it, and kumbaga, at least may involvement talaga dun sa kung anong city man yan or province. And then in terms of street dance naman, same thing, because street dance, or I think until now, generally known or accepted as hip-hop. Okay, kasi ano rin siya, it's very political as well, somehow. And the terminologies or the background, the history, we really have to understand and learn. And of course, individually, we have our own styles on how we do it. But somehow, meron kaming meeting point na dapat, okay, yung parang there's a fine line between you being an individual dancer and you being connected to the actual style, yung parang the authenticity of it. And honestly, it's easier now because of social media, YouTube, mas madali na makapag-research. But also it helps if you're really communicating through the artist or yung mga talagang founders or yung mga nag-start nun. Because again, as artists who's actually doing it currently, we have to be responsible to make sure na, kasi kami naman yung mga nag-share ngayon to the next generation. So in that sense, kailangan siya, very, very accurate. It's not gonna be perfect all the time, pero definitely dapat gawin namin yung best namin. And to add to that also, yun nga, since I would say also medyo nandun na kami sa mas nasa senior side na of this industry. We're still all young, pero somehow medyo kami na rin yung we take lead because we have our own circles or we have our own companies. And you can't always change the whole world, pero you have to start with your own corner. So kumbaga, with the hopes of, same thing with them, as they learn those skills or those yung knowledge that comes with it, tuloy-tuloy siya that will branch out.
Ang ganda nun. And I feel like hindi man ma-research yung buong, let's say, background about a certain dance style, an effort would make a difference than just copying or imitating it because it becomes more in-depth.
But if you are an educator, I think of course, the effort is important, pero dapat tama talaga yung tinuturo.
If you, Tama. If you are, it depends also on the profession. Thank you, Sir Vinny. How about you, Sir Nan? You mentioned earlier na you take pride as a Filipino through dance when you compete. Now, how can we promote the culture of a place, specifically the Philippines, through dance for you? Like,
Siguro,
let's say, bukod sa mga fiestas or gatherings, ganyan. Maybe dance competitions.
Off the top of my head, like one thing that I can do is maybe add a theme to whatever it is that we're trying to do. What is it about that place you want to promote? Like, what do they do there? What's the fiesta about? Who is it? Who are we celebrating? What's the dance competition for? These are questions that you can easily answer to, kumbaga, para malagyan mo ng line yung topic of what you want to actually show your audience. Ganyan. Yun, definitely, if gagawin mo yun, and if you know kung saan kung saan nanggagaling yung sorry, nabubulol ako. If alam mo kung at tungkol saan yung lugar, yung event, and whatever it is that you're trying to promote, definitely you're gonna be able to translate that properly. So yun, it's gonna still go back to research and getting to know the roots, yun yan.
And siguro an effort to know more about your own culture and not just sticking to the what you already see. Ganyan. So as a creator, you have the power to decide kung ano yung maipapakita mong pwedeng bago o yung kinalakihan mo as a performer. Thank you, Sir Suran, for that. How about you, Sir Peter? You mentioned that you teach folk dance. So for you, based from your experience, how can we promote the culture of a place through dance?
Siguro for me yung sagot will be based on sa field ko. So yung cultural dances, no, we always see that naman, but what I learned recently lang, we had a research kasi of dances from the Batanes province, yung mga Ibatans. So we collaborated with the tribal council there. And then later on, ginawa namin siyang concert, no. And then syempre nanood sila through online. And then they wanted to bring that back to the province and let us teach it to the Ivatans so that it becomes a performance for them. So parang also siguro if other provinces or other communities want, they can ask help from outside, from people outside, to maybe organize lang or just give them a guiding path kung paano nila isi-stage yung kanilang, meron kaming sayaw na ganito pero ang iksi lang, 1 minute lang. Paano namin to, it's if lagi na lang tinikling yung pinapakita, hindi naman namin sayaw yun, parang gano'n. Lalo na kapag kapitbahay mo yung Bohol, di ba? Kasi yung Leyte pala kasi doon galing yung tinikling. So paano naman yung Samar, di ba? So baka may sayaw sila doon na maiksi. Tapos sir, kasi paulit-ulit 1 oras, parang boring naman ipakita namin, parang gano'n, or sumali yung mga audience. So I think yung mga taong may experience sa ganitong field, sa entertainment siguro or sa staging, pwede namang tumulong. Nandiyan naman yung NCCA, nandiyan naman yung CCP, no? Ang daming mga I think it's also good for the DOT to reach out to us, the performing arts community, to help them also. Kasi nakakatulong din yan sa amin kasi sabi nga ni Coach Vimy, di ba, mag-research ka ng kultura or ideas from the places. So kami din mismo na-enrich naman yung sarili namin. So it's a collaboration. Yun yung tawag namin ng kuya ko doon, parang collaborative research, kasi nagko-collaborate ka with with the people that you're working with. So para pareho kayong nagkakasundo na tama yung ginagawa ninyo. So I think that will help them. Sorry.
Yeah, no, tama. But parang naisip ko lang din, you're really collaborating mismo doon sa tao na taga doon sa lugar na yun, di ba?
Yes,
Kasi nasa stock na tayo masyado doon sa nababasa natin, or galing sa libro, galing sa mga research, pero hindi natin na itatawid sa application sa totoong buhay minsan. So, or siguro masyado lang akong nasanay sa pandemya na hindi na interaction sa tao.
Malabas, oo. Maganda din kasi yung hashtag natin dito is, di ba, Go Travel. So, mura lang po ang pamasahe, di ba, before ng lockdown, at mabilis lang po ang biyahe. May mga kalye na po pupunta sa mga komunidad, pumunta po tayo, magbisita tayo doon. Kasi responsibilidad din po natin yan bilang mga artista.
True. Ang ganda. Kinikilabutan ako. Mapapaindak ka talaga sa mga kasama natin ngayon. And kulang na lang, mag-play na ng music sa background, di ba? Kanina pa tayo, may ganun akong nararamdaman. Parang may mag-QN ng sayaw dito. Kahit ako talaga, namimiss ko na rin sumayaw. Pero huwag kayong mag-alala guys sa ating viewers sa Facebook and YouTube, because GPS TV's Journeys will be right back. still with me, Aya Fernandez, ang inyong online travel buddy. So let's continue the conversation with our groovy dance buddies here sa ating on board. Here on GPS TV's Journeys, we take you to different places and let you experience the world from a new perspective. Diba? And ngayon, coming from dance artists. Now, gusto ko kayong tanungin, where has dance taken you physically around the Philippines or internationally? Sobrang curious kami, mga audiences. Anyone can start.
Well, locally, Cebu, Bacolod, Iloilo, when I was still with UP Dance Company. Then internationally, I was with the UP Filipiniana Alumni Group with Peter. We attended dance festivals in Europe. Tagal na nito eh. When was that, Peter? 2000? Around 2000.
2000
Yeah,
po.
so that was in Belgium. We covered Belgium, France, Switzerland. So that was for a total of 3 months. Yeah, and then my first trip outside of the Philippines was actually in China. So in Beijing, China. Yeah, so that I was still in college. Yeah, in China, including Hong Kong and Macau. Yeah. So
May CK,
very,
ang konti nga po, ang konti.
sila marami sila. Ako, hindi na ako, I don't perform. I'm sure sila mas marami. Yeah.
Oh, ang galing.
Oh,
And
yes,
guys,
Dance really gives you the opportunity to see the world. Yeah. So you train really hard, but you get a chance, to see the world. Yeah.
correct. And guys, kung napapansin nyo, parang magkakakilala ang ating guests. Kasi once you are inside the dance community, maliit lang yan, di ba? Na papag-connect ito ang mga tao. Hindi man personally, pero di ba, word of mouth, and mabilis lang yan kapag sa dance community. How about you, Sir Peter?
Yan, ako
Where
nang
has
susunod
dance
kasi
taken you?
paramihan to eh. Yung
Hindi,
mga quotes natin yung
Hindi,
dulo.
curious lang kami. Hindi to paramihan. Curious lang kami.
yung first ko is with Filipiniana with Ate Cecil and si si Kuya Jerome, no, si Coach Jerome ng yung director nila, Coach Vimy. So kami yung batch ng Filipiniana noong 2000 na pumunta. And then after that, I was with Power Dance and then nag-travel kami madami Davao, Cebu, mga ganun, Pampanga. And then sa Lasal naman we went to parang masarap isipin na binibigyan mo ng opportunities yung mga bata na dati pinapangarap mo lang. I'm sure lahat kami ganun yung pakiramdam ngayon sa teaching world. Nadala ko sila sa Beijing, sa Shanghai. Tapos every year nasa Malaysia kami kasi tsaka sa Thailand, no. And then I was back and forth sa Toronto because I was working there also. So I teach there, I choreograph, and I do music. I teach traditional music dun sa mga musicians. I help them pala, I don't teach. I help them para yung arrangement medyo sakto dun sa gusto ng choreographers and directors. So yun lang yung aming mga napuntahan.
Ang ganda how in between our conversations na-emphasize yung in arts, details talaga yung mahalaga. Lalo na rin sa sayaw, sining ng sayaw. How about you, Sir Vimy? Na-mention kayo eh. So kayo susunod. Where has dance taken you physically?
I wanted to share this first. It was a local trip. It was in 2013. Ito, hindi ko talaga makakalimutan. I was invited to judge a competition in Tacloban. And if you remember, 2013, kakatapos lang nung bagyong Yolanda. So the devastation was still very fresh. Tapos, I honestly said yes right away kasi nagulat ako na they were able to organize an event a few months after the typhoon. Yeah. And it was so special because although I've been exposed with the street dance industry or yung ano natin dito sa Metro Manila. First time ko talaga, before kasi parang when you compete internationally or even locally, pag nasa NCR, siguro just a few groups from different provinces yung nakikita mo. So you don't really get the whole picture of their style or kung ano sila as a city or a province. So sobrang na-appreciate ko yun kasi it was my first time to see the Tacloban parang street dance world. Tapos given the fact na they just went through such an enormous typhoon na
Disaster.
challenge sila. It was a disaster. Grabe yung emotion. Although, of course, they were so talented, pero alam mo na raw pa. Pero first time talaga na parang from the very first group until the last group, yung emotion. Kasi, of course, I'll start with this na Filipinos were all very, very talented. As people, kanta man yan, sayaw. Pero yung rawness nung napanood ko, plus yung parang nilaban talaga nila, yun, definitely hindi ko siya makakalimutan. So, yun, parang very memorable sa akin na local trip. It was a judging in Tacloban back in 2013.
Wow. At saka na-manage pa nilang magkaroon ng event after what happened. I mean, I don't know much, I admit. Pero like theoretically lang, parang, 'di ba? Dance uplifts really people.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Siguro, if I may just add, and then of course, siguro on another side naman, siguro as a career, back in college, and kasama ko rin yung mga teammates ko, si Sir Nanden kasama, yung very first experience ko na naka-travel abroad through dance was we were invited to perform in Taiwan for their New Year's Eve. I think it was, hindi ko alam kung cultural exchange.
Wow, New Year's Eve?
Yes.
It was in Tainan University 2 years in a row.
Yun,
ano to? New Year's party nila yun, di ba? For the university.
yun.
Yes.
So, parang ako noon, as a college student, parang lahat kami noon, siguro, like, I was 17 or 18 ata, tapos parang, wow, may ganito pala yung possibilities with dance. So, I think yun yung una sa mga eye-opener na dance can really take you places. And then, next, of course, a lot of us here have been competing, representing the Philippines, so we've been competing abroad, the US or other countries. And then as a teacher, I was invited to teach in New York back in 2012 and LA. So yun yung parang isa sa mga memorable experience ko. And then mostly yun na, siguro through competitions. And then there was this one year na feel ko rin na it was in partnership with DOT. UP Street Dance Club was invited to perform in Frankfurt, Germany. And it was it was a DOT project to promote the Philippines. So we were so happy na we were invited also to perform kasi kumbaga yung talagang pinerform namin, it was something more of to sell the Philippines. So somehow we integrated our performances with but mostly hindi naman talaga namin sinasayaw yung mga tinikling. Parang the LED behind us, pinapakita lang yung Boracay or no. But somehow we did our part in promoting the Philippines.
Yes. Ang ganda nun. Pero mas napa ako dun sa memory nyo together ni Sir Nan. So parang reunion pala to, no? Ang ganda nun, New Year's Eve. Wow, through dance. Thank you, dance. How about you, Sir? How about you, Jared? Sorry. Where has dance taken you physically around the Philippines or internationally?
I think well, internationally, I would say if not for dance, I wouldn't have traveled or been traveling. Parang yung first time ko lumabas ng bansa was also for dance. It was the time na umalis ako for my masters. So, I went to Europe for 2 years to study. Tapos while there, I was taking classes, intensives, performing also. Tapos pag uwi ko sa Philippines, sa Manila, when I joined Daloy, I also had the opportunity to perform sa tours. I think we toured sa Bangkok and sa States. It was a short tour. And then, since going independent, noong 2017, medyo yun na yung sunod-sunod. Medyo nakakaloka siya, but I'm grateful for the opportunity, especially parang I think ito na lang, like last year, all through, parang from last year all through right before the pandemic happened, I was kind of in and out. So parang interesting yun kasi for the most part, ako lang yung Filipino sa context, like so I was in Hong Kong for some time to premiere a new work. Tapos, after nun, literal naglaba lang ng damit. Tapos, I was in the States also for another research na dance. Tapos, I went to Japan after to also premiere another work. Tapos, for the most part, parang ako lang yung Pinoy. Tapos, there was this, on one end, there was this sense na parang, a representation of ng Philippine culture. Kasi yung ibang mga nakakasama ko of other nationalities, they don't have an idea of what Philippines is like or what
Yes.
dance in the Philippines is like. So, parang minsan may pressure na, oh my God, wait lang, kailangan ko i-share yung
So ano po yung mga
context ng
pinapresent
culture
nyo?
namin sa Philippines.
Ano pinapresent nyo pag tinatanong kayo?
So, well, yung context ko kasi is more on contemporary dance. So, mas ano siya, how do I describe it? It goes towards avant-garde almost. So, hindi siya yung usual na napapanood sa TV or sa stage, ganyan. But I do, kunyari, in this show that we did in Tokyo last year, we were different artists from different countries. So we had the opportunity to talk about our own histories and reflect on what it means to be Asian. Tapos ako yung Filipino body doon sa performance alongside Japanese, Taiwanese, Thai. Tapos the audience had a glimpse of how I personally viewed my own country and my own culture through that performance. So that was interesting. And then I had this show with a theater company nitong February lang. We performed in Australia for it's another festival. Thus we presented a play that took a lot of references from Philippine culture, which was very interesting.
Anong play to?
Very exhausting. Wait lang, yung title hindi ko maalala. But kasi ang tagal na. But
pero
we
ang
were
ganda.
taking references from kunyari sex bomb girls, ganyan, to like folk dance in the Philippines, to crumping, ganyan, gusto no director may crumping, tsaka may voguing daw, to modern dance and contemporary dance. So for the Filipino audience watching at the time, it was fun for them to some degree kasi parang home, a semblance of home. And for the foreign audience, it was a different experience kasi they got to see like what it's like yung cultures or popular culture at least sa Philippines.
From
ayun,
folk to pop culture and
unfortunately hindi in one show. So unfortunately though, hindi pa ako masyado nakabiyahe within the country for dance reasons. Hopefully, eventually, I want to be able to do it in the future. Maybe pagtapos na yung pandemic.
For sure. For sure. Saan din namin ang minention nyo rin. How about you, Sir Sernan? Where has dance taken you physically?
Okay. Bale, because of hip-hop dance, we were able to have events in Cebu and Davao, siguro mga 2 years ago, ganyan. Tapos yung isa sa mga hindi ko makakalimutan dito, when we were in Davao holding a hip-hop competition there, maraming mga taga-ibang probinsya may mga taga Palawan, may mga kung saan-saan na pumupunta dun sa competition to actually compete. Tapos merong isang group from Kidapawan. I've never heard of the place, as in Kidapawan City. I don't know where it is hanggang ngayon. Pero they approached us. Tapos they're like, tuwang-tuwa sila, as in, congratulations, maraming salamat po for doing this for us kasi walang ganito in our city. Alam mo yun, there's nothing like this na maliit lang yung community namin, konti lang yung dancers, walang opportunities for us. Pero because of this competition, nagkaroon kami ng something to look forward to every year, ganyan. So, yung mga ganon, little messages that the community gives, yun yung parang things that would make you want to do it again and go back and to actually help them. Yung mga ganyan. Tapos, we're still doing that now. We're still doing the competitions. But ngayon, we're working with CCP and ang nangyayari ngayon, we're bringing everyone to CCP na instead of traveling. Hopefully in the future, we get to do that again para we go to the, less traveled places. But now we're doing it with CCP. Tapos yun nga, when I was competing in college, yan, katulad ni Vimy, first time ko rin yun, yung sa Taiwan. Kaming dalawa yun, magkasama kami.
Oh.
It was my first time to go to the US during that time also in college. Tapos as a professional, as a judge and a dance coach, I was able to go to Italy, to Korea, Singapore, Romania, Japan, Thailand, Australia, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Canada, and Guam. So nakapag-work ako with these countries to judge and to teach workshops. One thing na hindi ko rin makakalimutan hanggang ngayon, it's very, very special for me, is the work that I've been doing in Dominican Republic. I've been working in that country for, siguro this is the 4th year.
Oh, wow.
I've been working with their government kasi meron silang program na what they do, yung program is that we take kids out of the streets. As in literal to, walang tsinelas, yung mga kantong bata talaga, and we teach them dance. Ang goal namin is to have them compete in a team and become world champions. They
Ang
compete in
ganda.
So we've been doing that for 4 years. And nung 2017, we were able to have a team win 2nd place in Worlds. Tapos, nung 2018, I think, yeah, we were able to have a team also to win 2nd place in Worlds. So yun, it's still an ongoing program. Sana magkaroon yung Philippines ng ganitong program, ano.
Oo nga, yun nga. I was about to say.
Yung culture in Dominican Republic and here in the Philippines is very similar. Actually yung itsura ng lugar, mukhang Manila yung Dominican Republic. Mukhang Tondo, mukhang yung ganun. So marami tayong people that we could actually reach out to and actually help. And yun nga, alam natin that Filipinos are very, very talented in dance. And we have a lot of very good dance coaches. So kunyari, we work together with the government to actually have this program. Marami tayong pwedeng itap na people. Marami tayong people that we are gonna be able to help. Na, alam mo yun, eventually, hopefully in the future, yung dance na ginagawa lang nila sa kalsada as a passion, ma-convert natin into actually something that they can do for a living. Yun yung mga things na nagpo-fuel, hindi lang sa akin, alam ko, but sa lahat ng mga kasama natin now, is to actually use what we have, yung experience natin to actually help. And yun, yung places that we've reached is nothing compared to what we can actually do here in our country when we actually, use our resources right.
Ang ganda nun. And for sure, mas magiging madali once we get back to normal. Diba? Yung
for sure.
in reaching out to more communities. Thank you, Sir
Mhm.
Sernan. Sir Vimy, you are a co-owner of Groove Central Dance Studio. So I'd like to ask, what does the dance scene look like now during the pandemic? Like mga online classes ba? Online events? Ganun na rin ba ang training or performance? Or is it on freeze?
Definitely not on freeze.
Yes.
Because I think we all expected that we're going to be under a lockdown a few weeks, even before it happened. We just didn't know up to what extent. So
Yes.
at least for us, and I know with a number of other studios also, we had to change our program into an online program. And unfortunately, summer programs are usually the biggest for any studio or dance school.
Yeah.
You have the whole school year na siguro there's a different mode of income for dance studios, but it's different when it's summer. So parang the peak of any dance studio is during the summer, and the lockdown happened a few weeks before summer. So what we did, we had to change our courses, our program, and we had to train our team, as in our staff, and the teachers also on how to adjust to an online setup, because although I think for most of us, we were able to experience teaching online, siguro once or a few times, iba yung it's gonna be your regular setup eh. And then, kumbaga before kasi, maybe out of an emergency, you had to come up with something that you can't meet physically, then gagawin mo. Pero now na you actually have to execute the whole program and you're preparing for a show, for a concert, we had to really understand and learn how to be effective when it's online. So kahit nga pati yung how you take care of your voice, kasi minsan mas mas gets mo kung naririnig ka pagka if it's live in
Oh,
person.
yeah.
Even yung mga small details na ganun, kailangan very particular kayo. It's a little challenging, but somehow the good thing about it is we still make it happen. So we were still able to come up with our dance concert for the summer. We have our program still with the schools, although it's all online.
Yes.
But also, the online setup opened up so many possibilities because now we have partnerships from other countries. We have an exchange program with a school in Australia, which is now very possible because traveling is not allowed, but of course you can do it online. So somehow it's now possible to have a bigger market, quote unquote. But although it's continuous and it's ongoing, you can never replace the seeing them live and in person. So kumbaga what we have now with the online setup is just making the most out of what's possible. But definitely, I wouldn't recommend open classes right away. Kasi alam naman natin na although mababa na yung cases, hindi pa rin siya mababa compared to pre-pandemic. So the best setup would be keep the online program, and then I understand siguro pwede na for some areas, pero practice social distancing still, and then if possible talaga mag-mask. And although expensive, kung gusto nyo talaga siguro to really rehearse, then definitely get tested first and make sure that you're negative. Because we've had, medyo bumabalik na thankfully. Bumabalik na yung mga projects and yung mga events. Pero now at least it is shouldered by the agency or the company. Na
that's good.
Dapat swab tested.
Yeah.
So, ganun muna. We have to be sure about that.
I agree definitely na walang tatalo sa actual, like personal classes. But it is good na we are able to cope and adapt. Na ako rin kasi I've tried online dance classes. Iba pa rin talaga pag personal. But the fact that you're still able to dance and make it happen, that makes all the difference. Thank you, Sir Vinny, for sharing with us. Now, let's now move on to connecting the two, being a performer and a traveler. Sir Peter, for you, how can we practice being a responsible and mindful traveler and performer?
Medyo mahirap yun. Pero thank you for the question. I believe, being mindful when you travel as a performer, tama ba? So therefore, you're traveling as a performer, you're performing in other places. Just based on experience, I think the utmost respect should be given to the culture of the place. Kasi, when we went to some places, especially kapag kasama ka sa group, madali ka kasing ang tawag doon. You call out, ang dami yung napapansin, tapos pagtatawanan ninyo, and then, or pag-uusapan ninyo, pagchichismisan ninyo, kasi grupo kayo pag solo traveler ka, you tend to blend with the crowd, with the society. So I think we should bring that individual value kapag nagta-travel tayo, tapos i-apply natin as a group. Kasi especially when you're performing and with other countries or with other performers, the reason why you are together is for camaraderie. It's for getting together. It's not mas magaling kami, mas magaling or kung competition yun, pero outside of the competition, outside of the stage, you are all, you should at least respect the place. If you are traveling naman to like Boracay and you're dancing there, respect the place. The best thing to do siguro is observe lang muna what others do, and then copy the best practices that that you think is safe, that won't damage any aspect of the place, either culture, people, or environment. So yun
ang ganda nun. Ang ganda. Pag dito rin sa GPSTV, lagi namin sinasabi, huwag kang maging turista sa sarili mong bayan. And that is definitely one of those pointers to remember. How about you, Jared? How can we practice being a mindful traveler and performer?
I think I'll bounce off from Sir Peter na lang din na tama yung pag-practice ng open-mindedness and being open towards other cultures and other peoples. Especially, yun nga, wala ka sa comfort zone mo sa lugar kung saan ka nanggaling. Maraming foreign, maraming strange, maraming kakaiba. And rather than putting judgment agad-agad, parang try to understand the context muna of why certain ways of doing things are such.
True.
So pagkain, pag-commute, pananamit, pagbati sa tao, greeting, these are basic things na embedded sa culture ng isang tao at sa society. So, yun, have a really open mind to try to understand their context kung ba't ganun. So, like in my practice, pag may day off, ganyan, I like visiting museums, history, tsaka ethnography museums,
Nice.
tsaka I like visiting street art areas. Wala lang, parang a good balance to try to get a sense of whatever
Galing.
place I'm visiting. And if my time permits, ganyan, and kung kaya ko naman i-navigate yung sarili ko sa city na yun, I'd allow myself to get lost. As in, walk around maligaw. But practice caution and safety lagi.
Oo.
Yan. So,
Yun na nga
pag
lang
nagdidilim na, medyo balik-balik na sa station, ganyan, hanap na ng ways pa uwi, ganyan, kasi baka hindi na safe eventually. It's all, yeah. Yun, so, with that, parang it's nice to visit places outside of the usual touristy places.
Yes.
To really fully understand, or not fully understand, but like to have a good glimpse of the place that you're visiting. Kasi nandun ka na rin naman na, ay di kilalanin mo na rin yung lugar na pinupuntahan mo.
Jared,
Kasi marami kang matitake in at makukuha.
yeah, during, I cannot remember which episode, pero one time, meron kaming guest na nagsabi, pumunta ka dun sa public market ng isang lugar. Yun yung sinabi niya. So, yun. Agree ka rin dun. Ang ganda ng
I
contrast.
agree. I very much agree.
Diba? Na pumunta ka dun sa museum at the same time, tignan mo rin yung street art. Thank you for that. How about you, Sir Vimy? How can we practice being a responsible and mindful traveler and performer?
Well, with my experience, it's mostly traveling with a group, specifically my group. So I take charge in making sure also that, well, first, they're well-behaved. Okay? Kasi we take pride in representing our country on stage, obviously. But ultimately, your time on stage is at most 4 minutes. But you being in that city or in that country or even traveling, ano yan, mga weeks kayo nandun. So how you carry yourself, you're carrying the flag ultimately. So I very much agree with Sir Peter na kung how you relate to the people around you, especially if you're in a foreign place, somehow it reflects to where you're from. Okay? And ayaw naman na parang just because of your attitude or yung parang nakasanayan mo na kultura, gano'n na yung magiging notion sa'yo ng whoever's around you. Could be from the locals or other countries that around you. Yeah. So for me, yun siguro yung parang as a traveler, a traveler and a performer, I have to be mindful of my actions. And it's not always just about pretending. It's being sensitive. Kasi madali lang naman maging comfortable, right? If you really would just want to enjoy, madali lang maging comfortable. But of course, you want to be respectful also. And again, especially if you're representing your country, the Philippines, medyo kailangan maingat talaga tayo dyan. Para hindi lang kasi yung representation natin is our time on stage. It's how we relate and how we are around people. So, yun lang. Medyo...
Paano kapag local? Paano kapag local competition?
It's the same thing. Because it's not about... This time, it's not representing Manila or... Somehow, oo. Alam mo naman, ano tayo, hiwa-hiwalay tayo. So, kumbaga, all provinces, cities, may kanya-kanyang identity. And as you all know, we have to admit, kumbaga, yung mga... Paano ba? May mga notion lagi Hindi na ako magiging specific about certain places Pero somehow the effort should be making sure that you are one with whoever's around you, especially if we're talking about dance, because apart from being all Filipinos, as dancers, we are all in the same ecosystem na tayo-tayo rin ang nagtutulungan. So, yun lang. Being responsible lang talaga.
Ang ganda nun. Thank you, Sir Vimy, for that.
In my head, like every time I travel, iniisip ko lagi that everything, yun nga, katulad ng sinabi nila lahat, everything I do would reflect on me as an individual, as an artist, and as a Filipino. Kasi, yun nga, in an international setting, hindi nila agad malalaman yung pangalan mo eh. They're gonna be like, oh, that dude from the Philippines, oh, that dude from India, or that dude from, you know. So, lagi akong maingat when it comes to that. So, ang ginagawa ko, I research where I'm going. How do they shake hands? Paano ba? Nag-shake hands ba sila? Nag-hug ba sila? Bumibeso ba sila? Ano sinasabi nila? Yung mga ganyan. Kasi, you know, yung greeting is the first sign of respect that you could give a person. And you have to do it right. When you do it right, they're gonna be like, oh, this guy knows where he is. You know, maybe he researched where he's going. He appreciates our culture. Yung mga ganyan. Alamin mo kung ano yung ginagawa nila. What I do is that, kunyari yun, during my free time also, katulad ng ginagawa ni Jared, tinatanong ko yung mga friends ko to take me kung saan sila nag-hangout normally. Ano ba yung kinakain nila lagi? Ano ba yung version nila ng sinigang? Kumbaga, ano yung staple food? Yan, kasi you have to try it in respect of where you are. Ganyan.
And I believe that also manifests if locally. Like if you go to somewhere with a different language, dialect, you adapt. You try to learn, diba? Even if you don't learn it in school.
Yes, diba? What do you normally try to learn first? Ano yung hi? Ano yung I love you? Yung mga ganyan. Yun yung, diba? Una mong tinatry aralin eh. Tas, of course, if may mag-a-ask, kunyari may mag-a-ask sa akin from another country na parang, how do you say I love you in your language? I'll be happy to teach him eh. Kasi that shows interest in who I am as a person, where I'm from. You know, also yun, in trying to research all of these things, lagi ko iniisip that I have to respect what they respect. Ano yung religion doon? Ano yung mga patakaran? Ano yung laws? Ano yung mga normal.
Yeah.
Kasi nga, di ba, when you
Basic
go, yun.
Thank you.
Yung ginagawa ko.
Thank you, Sir Hernan. And last but not the least, our lady in the house, Miss CK. How can we practice being a responsible and mindful traveler and performer?
Yeah, I think nasabi na nila lahat, no? But for me kasi, right now, personally, we do travel regularly, you know, to promote the resort. And of course, yung Philippines, di ba? Especially Boracay, yung market namin is China and Korea. So of course, knowledge talaga is very important. It's very powerful. So we have to read up, study. Everything naman is nasa internet na ngayon, diba? So paano ba mag-shake hand if my client is Korean? Pag Chinese, paano? Pag Japanese. So you have to study all this. Tsaka diba yung mga taboo practices nila? Ano yung bawal? Ano yung okay, para at least we show respect. And also din sa performing, it's really based on research. We have to research properly. What is authentic? Ano yung tama? Otherwise, we don't want naman to hurt, di ba? Different set of people or yung culture nila. So that's one way of really respecting and how to become a responsible traveler. It's all about research because knowledge will give you that power. Yeah.
And I believe the same goes with what do you keep in mind if it's a local travel naman? Local travel and performing.
Sorry?
Performance. What do you keep in mind if it's a local travel or a local performance?
Yeah, pag local travelers kasi mostly, diba? Like right now, Boracay, 100% of the business is coming from the local market. Diba? So the local market, they travel with families, diba? And their parents, you know? So you always have to respect that part also. And then pag local performer naman, pag local perform, again, it's really parang really respecting, our audience. Yeah. And you know, I'd like to share lang, no, kanina you talk about, di ba, traveling internationally. when we travel internationally kasi, one meaningful experience that I had is the audience would come up to us and say na, where is the Philippines, diba? I like to travel there because I see that the costumes, even yung headdress, even the headdress, it inspires them to travel sa Philippines. Ang daming audience na right after the show, they would say na, I want to travel to the Philippines because I'm interested. Yeah? Interested to see more of your costumes, of your headdress, ganon. So it really sparks, tourism. And pag sa local naman kasi, pag local, they like to travel because they want to relax. They want to relax nowadays. Yung parang post-cabin fever, something like that. Yeah.
Or a change of scenery. Yeah.
Change of scenery kasi we've been locked down for more than 8 months na. So we respect that kind of market behavior nowadays.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Siki. And to you guys, sa ating viewers, siguro marami na sa ating nakakamiss. Ako personally, miss ko na yung mga live performances. But for now, we just really have to adapt and wait and do it gradually. Makakabangon din tayo muli. And thank you so much sa ating mga guests, Sir Sernan, Coach Vimy, Sir Peter, Sir Jared, and Miss CK. Thank you so much. But before I let you go, dito sa GPS TV, meron tayong GPS TV Move. And it would be so much of a privilege kung ito ay magagawa ng ating dancer na guest. So, sabay-sabay natin sabihin na here on GPS TV, we always remind you to hashtag go safe, go travel.
Go travel.
Go Philippines. Soar high.
Soar high.
Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you to our guests to join in our conversation. That was truly a value-adding experience. Hindi natin matututunan sa classroom, di ba? Talagang dito sa GPS TV, hindi lang tayo nang-encourage na makabangon sa turismo, kundi rin learning, di ba? Yung talagang ating first priority. And thank you for tuning in for today's episode. Thank you also to Hotel Sales and Marketing Association, or HSMA, the Department of Tourism, and the Tourism Promotions Board for making this show possible. Sana marami kayong natutunan, gaya ko rin, at natutunan at nalaman tungkol sa safe and mindful traveling. Always plan your trips and consider the health situation of your family, your resources, and the location you're going to. Ayan, kanina mention sa research, di ba? Siyempre, on top of strict medical protocols yan, so that everyone can safely enjoy, including the rest of the people around you. Talagang, sa panahon ngayon, may papakita yung bayanihan, di ba? Sa pamamagitan ng pagiging mapagmatyag na manlalakbay. Again, huwag tayong maging turista sa sarili nating bayan. Always remember that for everyone to enjoy a worry-free travel experience. Kasi ang hirap mag-enjoy pag di tayo safe. Again, we have to go safe before we go travel. Until the next flight, this has been your online travel buddy, Aya Fernandez. Watch out for more episodes and see you again only and only here on GPS TV. Go Philippines! Soar high! Mabuhay po tayong lahat!